Everybody, welcome to the Brandon Golden Show. Super excited to have my boy Corey Muscara on here. A lot of people have, talked about and known Corey and I's history, but I don't think they really know the depths of it. We're going to kind of jump into a lot of that today, like how Moose has helped me as a performance coach, how he's helped a crap ton of players, how he's gotten to where he is as the head coach at Duke University, and couldn't be more excited to have Moose here at the Ghost Lab on the Brandon Golden Show. Well, I appreciate it, man. Again, I know you got a lot of stuff going on, so you being here is super special. Let's just jump right into it, dude. What a lot of people talk about your energy, how you go about things, how you recruit players, how you coach. Where does that come from? What makes Moose Moose?
I mean, look, I'm a nobody from nowhere. Like I was, every team I was ever on, I wasn't really that good. I was the fat kid. I wasn't very talented. But I think it really stems from my dad. Um, from a very young age, he would come in every day and tell me I could be whatever I wanted to be. And so I was blessed with the idea that like whatever you think you can do in your mind, it can happen. And then, my mom and dad supported me through that and showed me a lot of love and support for going for big goals and dreaming big. And then honestly, that continued to be fostered when I met my girlfriend, now wife. Um, she's a doer. She's not a talker, she's a doer. And she got me into like the law of attraction and understanding about like how the brain works. And from there I've just delved into all these concepts a lot, like read a lot of books on leadership, read a lot of books on energy, on frequency, on how your thoughts can manifest themselves. And so I mean, look, and nobody's perfect. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. I'm not saying that I'm like the best at it, but most things that I've said I was going to do in my life have come to fruition by just believing it. And so I think that's where the energy comes from. Another thing my dad said growing up, that if you love doing what you're doing, you'll never work another day again in your life. And no matter what you're doing, didn't matter if you were selling snow cones. Okay. If you if you loved what you were doing, you were going to be one of the best in the world at it. And if you're one of the best in the world at doing anything, you'll be financially successful. So I think oftentimes we tell ourselves why something can't happen. We set ourselves up for failure, and we have this fear, like, what am I going to look like if it doesn't go well? What's going to happen if it doesn't work out? What excuse do I need to make? I think that's where we go wrong. We're already telling ourselves it can't happen. So you're really not inhibited by anything you want to do. You just have to believe that you can, and you have to put it out there to the universe, and eventually you'll start to figure it out. The other thing that's absolutely paramount to this, if you love what you're doing, you're going to love your process. You're going to constantly try to iterate the process, figure out new ways to do it, and you're going to have a lot of juice. And what you'll then start to understand, if you're going to be successful, is you actually do have to fail, right? You have to fail so you can change your process and find new strategies. And if you have very strong belief in what you're doing, the setbacks don't hold you down. They just give you an opportunity to find new strategies and making things happen. So those are basically like the core tenets of like what I decide, like how I've kind of, cultivated my thoughts and my belief. And there's so many times that I've made mistakes. I've done things wrong. I've been scared. I've been nervous. And you just got to keep doubling down on that belief that you can do things, and that even if you make a mistake, it's part of it. Like that's part of learning and growing. So I think that's kind of where it all starts. And that's kind of how everything I go by, it stems off those principles.
Which is cool, man. And then, like, you obviously are raised in a household like that. You learn those things from a young age. Like, you believe them, you see them, you see your parents doing them. You play college baseball, then you come into coaching. Like, talk to us a little bit about like your first year coaching and then what that was like and how that propelled you into your next position even after that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Scotty Loazzo, he's our associate head coach right now at Duke. He was my assistant coach, and he hired me in my first job. And I had no idea what I was doing. None. I was basically still like a player. So like I ran these guys into the ground, and I figured if I was going to ask a lot of them and run them into the ground, I had to run with them. So I used to just do all the workouts with them. We didn't have a strength coach back then. Scotty was basically the strength coach, and I would lift with them. So we would run with the guys, lift with the guys, throw with the guys. and I really wasn't a coach as much as I was like a player, just like leading the team that way. No idea what I was doing, but I'd have a lot of conversation with people, pick people's brains, and every time I was taught a new idea or something new, I just put it into play right away. You know, someone told me long toss is good, great, we're going to long toss.
Mhm.
Someone told me this is good, great, we're going to try it. This is great, we're going to try it. And along the way, I made some guys better, and along the way, I screwed some guys up. But every time I was taught something, or every time someone gave me an idea and I tried it, it was like this incubator to decide what I liked and didn't like. The cool part about it is I had to have the confidence to kind of die on the hill of whatever I believed. So I've always been flexible and moldable to whatever it is because I'm like, all right, well, this could help me. Maybe it can, maybe it can't. But the only way I'm going to learn is if I try it, you know? So that's kind of what it's been. I had no knowledge. I had no preconceived notions of what it looked like. I just tried to, you know, coach the players like I wanted to be coached. And I try to give the effort that I put forth myself and I try to demonstrate with action. And so that's the way it was. I mean, we inherited the worst Division II baseball team in the nation, you know, and Coach Loazo turned that place into a factory, you know. From there, like new opportunities kept happening, and I just kept going to new places. And I was along the way, I was blessed to be around a lot of great people: Ed Blankmeyer, Ryan Herba, Scott Brown, you know, Rob Vaughn, Anthony Papio, and so forth. So like all these different people kind of help shape my ideas. You know, and it's really no different than when you and I were working together. Like we were young, we didn't know what we were doing. We're just trying to figure it out by doing. You know, so
Which I think is a cool kind of segue into. Like, I was getting ready to talk about St. John's and Blanky and all that stuff. Like for me, that's exactly what it was. I mean, if you remember, like I got there and I was like, yeah, just interned at Mississippi State. I'm from High Point. Never seen the big city a day in my life. And me and Emily roll up there and I'm like, what in the hell have I done?
oh yeah.
And
I remember you were like, I ain't in Kansas anymore. I'm like, no, you're not in Kansas, bro.
Sure.
You're actually on Queens Boulevard.
Yeah, sounds
you
like
know,
make your home boy.
yeah.
So like we get there and like we go through everything and obviously like you were a big staple and you have been in a lot of things that I've done. But like one thing very specifically that sticks out to me that could have altered my entire career was like we went and got some coffee. I was like, hey man, this New York thing ain't for me. I'm gonna take it back to the house. I could go back and intern at High Point. I can do whatever the hell I want. Like, but this ain't it. And we go on a walk. We talk about certain things, and we go into what St. John's is, who Ed Blankmeyer is, how we're going to build it. And I think that's one thing that I don't think a lot of people in not even just baseball, but like in the world understand that when you have a plan and you stick to what you're trying to do and you bring people along with which is what you do an excellent job of and what you've done with me for the past 12 years is like, hey, understand what I'm looking at and see the big picture. Here, let's go do this thing together. You, Blanky, Bone, all those guys brought me in and gave me an opportunity to be a director of strength and conditioning as a GA and travel and do all these different things. How did you do that at such a young age?
Because everything I was telling you is what I believed.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like it was for me. It wasn't like a crazy thought. Like I wake up every morning and I'm like, how can we be the best? I don't wake up saying like, how can we be average or look at all the obstacles. You know, it's like, how can we be better? And, you know, I think I saw that you had ability. I saw that you had love for you know, your craft, and I knew that we needed somebody that was young and that had that energy and was willing to learn. And I knew you were willing to work. So like for me, I've always gravitated towards people that have an eagerness to learn. They have a love for what they're doing. They have a strong work ethic. What you know is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It doesn't even matter. Like what matters is like how much do you care, right? Like it's not about the science of coaching. It's not about how much you know. It's about how much you care.
Yeah.
Right. And if your care level's high, your resolve is high, right? You could take accountability for what you're trying to do. You could do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It might not happen right away. You might suck for a while, but that's all part of it, you know? And so that's how I look at all things. I mean, you have those things. That's why you're fearless. That's why you started a facility. It's why you started a travel ball organization. It's why you moved all over the country to do this because you have belief. And if you have belief, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And that's what prevents a lot of people from doing things. They tell you why they can't do something.
Mm-hmm.
They give you all the pitfalls and all the reasons why it can't work, you know, and I mean, life's not been easy for you. You've had plenty of setbacks and adversities, right? But you keep coming,
Yeah.
you know. And again, that's fueled by belief, desire, love, passion, work ethic. And once you start to understand that you've already overcome certain obstacles, it gives you confidence to do it again and again and again. And you know you can do it. And look, everybody has the human emotion of frustration. Like that's going to happen. But you take that frustration, you vent, you do whatever, and then you get off it and you go on to the next task, right? You just got to keep getting to the next light pole.
No doubt, dude. And that's we did that a lot in Queens. And man, it's funny. Like I remember us being in that little ass office, all of us going over video, and it was like, hey, look, like again, exactly what you just said. I need you to be really good from a baseball side of things. You're like, yeah, you're a good strength coach, like that's great, but like I need you to be better from X, Y, and Z. I'm like, awesome. So how do we do that? It's like, well, meet me in my office at this time, and we're gonna go over video every single day. And people might think we're full of crap, but like that's what we did. We did that every single day for at least a year and a half until we got up to New York.
Yeah, well, and it started too. It started too because like I was an hour and a half away from campus, but Blanky had a rule that there needed to be a coach in every strength and conditioning session. We started at 6 a.m. So I was an hour and a half away. I had to leave the house at 5:30 in the morning. So we'd be done lift by 7 a.m. Like, what else are we gonna do?
Right.
You know what I mean? So when you're young, that's why I tell so many coaches and so many people that have a belief in what they're doing, like start right away. Because when you're young, you don't have as many financial burdens, you don't have as many relationships that depend on you. And so you need to build your sweat equity. And that's how you build your portfolio. Your portfolio is with your work. That's how you learn. You have to do and you have to go make mistakes. And what holds a lot of people back in different industries is they have different things that are holding them back and they think they can't do it because they have to take care of someone or they have a relationship or it's too much time and effort or it seems too hard. So sometimes like ignorance is bliss. Sometimes not knowing and not having an understanding of like what the expectation is and just going and pouring yourself into it. It leads you to places you never knew you could be. That's what we had. We didn't have anybody holding us back. We had time on our hands. We had youth on our side. We had ignorance on our side. So that allows us to be able to put all those things together and start cooking, start making something.
No doubt.
Because that's ultimately what it really is. And that's no different than what we have to do right now. We have to start from we're in a crazy world of college athletics. We got NIL money, you got facilities arms race, you got scholarships arms race, you got all these different things. And there's a million excuses as to why it can't happen. You tell yourself those excuses, they're not going to happen. But if you tell yourself you can do it, let's get creative, let's find a way, let's be innovative, then anything's possible.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. And it's cool to watch you and the staff already doing some of those things they do. But what would you say to the people listening about your staff and what you guys are currently doing and how things are going to forecast out in whatever time frame?
Yeah, I mean, look, like I don't have all the answers on it, and I'm still trying to I'm kind of the blind man going through the forest, just like trying to figure it out. But I'm just trying to listen to opportunities. I'm trying to develop relationships with as many people as I can. Trying to tell them my vision, my passion for what we're trying to do. And we're just trying to be creative. We're trying to hone in on player development. We're trying to make sure we create an environment where guys love being at practice. I think this is one of the most easily forgotten things is like if people love their environment, that you're going to get more out of them, and for me, like I have to get them to be totally like fully committed to playing as hard as they can, working as hard as they can, and in the process enjoying it. So we talk a lot about gratitude, because if you can have gratitude for all the opportunities that are coming into your way, it changes your perspective, changes your energy, changes your frequency. So we're trying to be innovative with all the things we're doing, whether it's like if we can do camps better, we can recruit better, change our tours, change our messaging. And look, like right now we've got some good players, but I'm not getting guys at the same hit rate that I was previously, like when I was recruiting at other places. So we have to grind a little bit harder. We have to look under more rocks. We have to change our strategy, and we can sit here and complain that we're not getting the same amount of guys, or we can find different guys, It's funny. I go back and look at all the years and all the players I've coached that played pro ball, and like 90% of them weren't highly touted. Walk-ons, guys that like people didn't think were going to be good. And it's funny because like you recruit these kids and you give them a walk-on spot, right? And like, oh man, you hit the lottery with that guy. Like you saw that one. And if I saw it, then why did I offer him a walk-on spot?
Right.
I got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But the more times you take chances and you bet on people and you give them an opportunity and environment, you never know what's going to happen, right? So for us, we're just trying to build the right environment. We're trying to make it a transformational environment, not a transactional environment. We're trying to do what we say we're going to do. We're trying to be men of our word. And we're trying to create like innovative ways in training, in culture building, in style. We're trying to be real, authentic with our players. And, you know, just because we want them to love practice and love the environment doesn't mean we have to sugarcoat things.
Right.
Doesn't mean we can't be super real and give them objective feedback. Doesn't mean we can't give them constructive criticism. You know, when you live in a world of transaction, you really start to just tell people what they want to hear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're always telling people what they want to hear, there's a shelf life on that. They might feel good in the moment, but you keep telling somebody what they want to hear, and then your actions don't match up with what you're saying, you lose trust.
Every time.
And so for me, it's like sometimes, you know, I've definitely stepped on people's toes. I've definitely made people feel uncomfortable by trying to be brutally honest and blunt. But I don't ever really deviate from it, and I don't apologize for it. And generally, what happens in the long run is when you're consistent and you're true to that, people start to respect it. They might not like it, but they start to respect it. And you know, I tell guys all the time, like, hey, I don't have all the answers. I'm just telling you what I believe, what's in my heart. And if I'm telling you what I believe and I'm being truthful and I'm being honest with you, then there's a good chance that it's going to eventually help you. So for me, we're trying to set a foundation of this. And that's with everybody. That's with players, with donors, that's with administration. That's with all the different constructs that you need to be able to facilitate to be able to make something happen. Right. So, you know, coaching a team now in college baseball is a lot like being a CEO. You have to like have your hands in a lot of different things that otherwise you might not have had to do.
Right.
And again, if I were to complain about that, we wouldn't get very far.
Yeah,
but I had to be open. I had to be adaptive. I had to fail. I had to take criticism. I'm going to have angry people at me. Plenty of people are going to throw rocks at me. That's fine, you know. So that's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to establish that foundation of authenticity, of belief in our vision and our purpose. You know, for us, our purpose, our why is growth, grit, and gratitude. We want to have those three pillars in everything we do. And we don't just talk about it, like we do it. Like you've been at all my practices. Like we do gratitude journaling constantly. We're constantly showing them like objectively how much they've grown. We're asking them to respond with toughness and grit every day and not make excuses, have good body language, have great self-talk, continue to show up. I think if you do those things with a lot of passion, good things happen.
Yeah, you have a chance every time. If you don't, you're up shit creek like that.
100%.
Yeah. For a high school kid that is interested in playing for you and the staff at Duke, what do they need to do? Not just on the field, because obviously there's a skill set, there's a talent level that comes with playing in the ACC. But like, how does a high school kid get recognition and get like on y'all's radar?
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is it starts with the grades. A lot of people say that, but it's like a real thing at Duke. The latest U.S. News World Report had us at 7. Last year we were at 6. You know, the people that are around us in those rankings are like Yale, Harvard, Princeton, Stanford, you know, Northwestern, schools like that. So the grades are a real thing. We only have so much wiggle room to get guys in. So we need guys with really strong academic portfolios. And one of the things we really look for at Duke is we need guys with academic rigor in their course load. So if your school offers APs, we need to try to take as many APs as possible. If your school doesn't offer APs, then we need you to take the highest course, you know, the most rigorous courses that you can, whether that's advanced play, that's dual enrollment, or whether that's honors courses. So we need a really rigorous, you know, curriculum, and we need guys. And one of the things that, like, you know, that's challenging, but it's kind of going back to like Malcolm Gladwell's book, David versus Goliath, right? When you have a perceived disadvantage, sometimes that can be your superpower. So the perceived disadvantage of having kids that have to have this really rigorous curriculum is challenging to find really good ball players. But because of that, you get guys with a really great work ethic. You got guys that have accountability. You got guys that are high achievers, right? because it's easy if you're a great athlete to like, oh, I'm not going to take an AP class. I'm not going to take that class. But if you're pushing the envelope every day, well, you must have some intestinal fortitude to be able to get through this. So that's the superpower, right? And so we had to earmark that. And then we had to find guys that could play, right? I say this all the time. Talent is the price of admission. It's like getting on the amusement park ride. The thing says you can't get on the ride because you're 4'11" and you need to be, 5 foot or whatever. You're not getting on the ride, right? So it's the same thing. Like if you're not a certain base of talent level, you can't play in the ACC, right? But it's so much more than that because once you hit that minimum standard and minimum threshold of talent, then it all comes down to your character, your DNA, how you think, how you grow. Our sport's super cool because you could flip a game on and be like, that guy went to a D2 school. That guy went where? 3 school. He went to Seattle U. No way. There's so many guys you can list that went to all these random places, but they were given opportunity. They fortified their belief system. They started to develop strategy because, baseball is skill acquisition, right? So at the end of the day, like the more belief you have in it, the better chance you have of getting those skills. And, you know, for me, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for guys that want to play, that want the opportunity, that want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, that really value the degree. Not only because I believe in it, because we need it.
Yeah.
There's really no wiggle room on that. It's a non-negotiable.
100%. Talk about the skill acquisition side of things, and obviously I know the stat pretty darn well. From a development standpoint, how do you guys develop players? How do you get the skill acquisition, all of those things? How does that flow together there?
Yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody, but it's trying to infuse it every day, right? So, we'll get into, whether it's your swing or pitching, doesn't matter. There needs to be time allocated towards motor learning where you can actually, understand how you're moving, right? And this is a common misconception. You taught me this. But so oftentimes, we are queuing up a player on how to move. But the player has limitations on how they can actually move. And so, for starters, you have to assess, what are their ranges of motion? Where do they need stability or rigidity in their actual movement patterns? Maybe they have adaptations that allow them to have that type of stability. What type of mover are they? Do they have motor preferences? Do they have narrow, wide ISAs? What are their deficiencies? Is it a capacity issue, meaning they don't have the range of motion, the strength, or the stability, or the what's the word I'm looking for? Or the help me out here.
Strength, power.
No. What did you called it? Coordination. There we go. Or do they have the coordination?
Yeah.
Or is it simply, a motor learning issue? Is it neural pathways that haven't been opened yet, right? Obviously, if a guy has the range of motion and has the strength but doesn't move the right way, that's where you have to hit the motor learning, and that's where you have to groove the patterns, right? But you could be grooving the patterns and they don't have the capacity. So you first have to make an assessment on that. And that's in the strength and conditioning space. That's in the weight room. That's also with what you do and trying to get guys to understand what they're doing. And then you have to attack those deficiencies daily. There's really no recipe for it. It's just showing up every day and putting the money in the bank,
right.
So you can actually build that interest. And then once you've established that, it's the same thing with a delivery or a swing. It's starting to fine tune, how should they be moving? What's the most optimal way that they should move? How does it impact their throw? How does it impact their stuff? How does it impact their swing? Once you've kind of sharpened the sword and start to get to understand the swing or the move or the defensive, mechanic of it all, then you got to start attacking the mental approach, right? You got to start saying, okay, what is your approach? What do you do well? What are you going to look for? How are you looking to do this? Now, as a pitcher, it could be your arsenal. It could be your shapes. It could be your usage strategy. For a hitter, it could be what pitches you handle, what pitches you don't handle. What is that guy going to throw you? how do you get on time? For a defender, it might be where you position or how you attack the baseball or, how you have to play your throw, whatever it may be, right? So that's how you blend it all together, right? It's the physical assessment and the capacity of what you're capable of. Then it's the motor learning of the skill, right? The swing, the throw, whatever, and fine tuning that. Then there's the knowledge base of what you do in your throw or swing. Then there's the mental approach to how you're going to strategize what you're doing. That could be oppo scouting, that could be intel, that could be all that. And then there's how do you deal with your failure? And how do you stay motivated? And how do you stay consistent? Rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. And if you're attacking each bucket, right, then you have a pretty holistic plan and you have a chance. And then the more you delve into those habits, the more confidence you build. The more confidence you build, the more success you have. People always say, what comes first, results or confidence? And it's like, nothing happens unless you believe it's going to happen. People are like, oh, I disagree. Well, okay, then why would somebody do all the habits? Why would they wake up at 6 a.m.? Why would they do all this extra if they didn't believe they could do it? Belief is where it always starts. And then it's almost like you get these little dopamine hits every time you hit like a little, a little milestone or a little mile marker, right? And then you get more and more and more, and that's how it keeps building out.
Yeah, which is cool because like obviously you build the player, we assess them, we look at how they move, we all kind of collaborate on how we want things done. Like talked about with Perlmutter and then everybody there on staff. Like how do you guys take those players from everything that we're doing from a skill acquisition and development side of things, and then when February 13th rolls out and it's time to go play baseball, like how do you let them play free? How do you take the transition from mechanical understanding things? Because I watched you do this for a very long time, and I know it, but I want everybody here to understand. Like, how do you let them go and be free and just play the game?
You got to be independent of results. You have to love your process, and you have to not worry about it, because the second you start having fear of results, you now have a governor on what you're capable of. So you have to know that like your self-worth is not dependent upon your results. Your self-worth is dependent upon your beliefs. Your self-worth is dependent upon your identity. And that doesn't mean you can't get aggressive or get excited or like push somebody. Maybe they're not hitting their standards. Maybe they're not hitting their process, right? But for me, like, I actually don't get on guys or yell at guys for physical mistakes or results. I get on them for their controllables, how hard they run down the line, their body language, how they're showing up, their work, how they see themselves, how they talk to themselves. Well, the words that you say matter, right? That's the stuff I get on people for.
Yeah.
And I think once players know that there's a safe space, that's what you're going to hold the line on. You're going to hold a line on controllables. Then they have freedom on results.
Yeah.
Because if you put all your time on controllables and that becomes the standard, then the results take care of themselves. And if you're not getting the results you want, then you change your process. All the results are is a scorecard for what your process is. People are like, oh, I'm working really hard. I'm doing all the right things. Yeah, but are you thinking right? Are you thinking right? Maybe you're not. Because if you think right and you do all the habits and you do all the things necessary to be great, you're going to get results eventually. And again, also understanding that this game is riddled in failure. It's riddled in low success rate. So we have a different barometer on what success is. And that's the other thing. You have to define what success looks like for a person. If a guy hasn't really pitched, success isn't going out and throwing a sub 1 ERA.
Right.
Success is like competing in the strike zone.
Yeah.
So you got to define what that success, but that's a part of the approach. That's part of the mental strategy. And you have to define something that's attainable, that we can build off of. Doesn't mean that's where you need to stay, but you have to hit something that's reachable. Real great goals are ones that are just a hair out of reach, just a hair. They got to make you jump a little bit further. And you jump high enough to get it. You got it, and you tasted it. Set the bar a little bit higher. But if you set your goal to be like, let's use it in terms of the basketball hoop. You can dunk on a 7-foot hoop. And your goal is, hey, next week I want to dunk on a 10-foot hoop. It's a terrible goal.
Yeah, they know.
The goal should be a dunk on a 7.5-foot hoop. That's how you can measure success. Now build your process to be able to dunk on a 7.5-foot hoop, then an 8-foot hoop. And then, that's why you have those steps to get where you need to be. And when we want to shortcut those steps, that's when people give up. That's when they quit, right? Because there's no shortcut for it. Like you've read all the books. It takes what it takes. It is what it is. All that crap. Like they're great books and they're real. They're cliches. Cliches are real because they've been tried and true.
Yeah.
So that's how you have to redefine it. You have to put the effort on your process. But when you get guys to believe in it, there's freedom. There's freedom in knowing that, like, hey, my self-worth isn't dependent on if I win or lose or my results. My self-worth is dependent on who I am and what I stand for.
For sure.
And that's where you get freedom.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We got the OG Clean Fuego here. This tool and device has taught me more about ball flight analytics than any CSV or any TrackMan ever has. When I was at the University of Maryland, we didn't have anything, and it was during COVID, and we would get on these Zoom calls, and I learned about tilt, efficiency, all of these things. I think one of the reasons why we've always had really good fastball characteristics on the staff side coach is we warm up with Fuegos every day. See, plyos are great, and you can help a lot in terms of the skill acquisition we talked about. But what happens when you throw a plyo, you kind of get to the side of the ball and you lose spin efficiency. So I've always been a big believer of starting our catch play with Fuego so we can find the center of the ball, understand the tilt. Again, we talked about strategy and approach. Knowing your ball flight and knowing your strategy is going to help to optimize your location strategy. Clean Fuegos are a very simple way to get guys to understand that. I am a big, big Team Fuego guy. We actually just got our Clean Fuegos. Our shipment came to the house about 3 or 4 days ago. So I'm really fired up to bring this to Duke and show them how we can operate by having better ball flight metrics and better fastball characteristics. You can use it for the changeup. You can use it for the breaking ball as well. But I'm a big believer in instituting these in everything we do in catch play. So shout out Clean Fuego. Thanks for everything you do to help advance this game and all the players that I've coached that you've helped along the years.
Yeah, to Moose's point, we're partnered with Clean Fuego as well here at the facility and with the Brandon Golden Show. We're super excited to be able to announce that we have a whole bunch of OG Fuegos downstairs. We have the Flyo, we have whatever Fuegos offers. It's sitting downstairs in my office. So like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff to the Brandon Golden Show for a chance to win your set of the OG Fuegos. We have had an opportunity to coach a lot of really talented players that have gone on to play professional baseball, big leagues, the whole 9 yards. What are some similarities that you see in some of the best players on planet Earth that you've coached?
Belief, one, they believe they can. Because they believe they can, they're willing to do just about anything to be great. They're willing to make sacrifices. They're willing to make tough decisions. And they're consistent because of their belief. So, again, like I said, almost everybody has the baseline of talent. But the biggest believers and those that pour into their process the most consistently, they happen. Hal Elrod talks about this. He wrote a book called The Morning Miracle. And I'm going to mess it up. But he defines his equation for miracle is like insane belief over a consistent period of time equals miracles. And that's essentially what it is. It's like you just have to see yourself doing it. You have to feel that it's real. You have to act as though it's happening and it's obtainable. And then you have to stay consistent to this every day. Can't waver on it. And so the ones that are really good, when they're having success, that's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great aspect of things and the way to think there. I want to kind of transition a little bit into some just quick things, just right off the top of your head. What is maybe 1 or 2 of your favorite moments as a coach in college baseball?
First College World Series appearance in Southern New Hampshire was pretty awesome because, like I said, that was, the worst Division II team in America, and we got to the College World Series. And that group is really special. We still talk to a lot of those guys pretty regularly. So a couple of those guys came down to visit Coach Loazo last weekend. So that was very special. Each place I've been at has had special moments, but it all revolves around the team coming together. Obviously, like when I was at St. John's, we won some championships, and there were some really cool moments there. We had some walk-ons in 2015 that helped to get us back in the NCAA tournament and win a Big East championship. Guys like Thomas Hackemer, Chris Calica, and just other players that like played huge roles in that whole thing. But yeah, it's the championships, but it's really like the building of the team to come together to build that and the sacrifices that are made and the growth that happens along the journey. At Maryland, we were like the bad news bears to start. We weren't very good. We were taking first baseman and making them knuckleball pitchers and stuff like that. And we got off to a really bad start in 21. It was complete and utter anarchy. We were picked preseason to win the league, and we got off to like a 4-10 start or something like that. We won like 18 out of 21 down the stretch, and the team kind of came together. So like watching that team come together was cool. Obviously at Wake, the 22 year, we went from 20 to 21 wins. That was pretty special. And there was this like shift the following year to like, hey, like we could do this. We're pretty good. So just like watching those guys day to day, like have that brotherhood and how they competed. And obviously, going to Omaha was a pretty cool memory. So far at Duke, my favorite memory is we played a 18-inning game against UNC Wilmington, and we won the first one. It was a good ball game. It was one of those games that could have gone either way. And we were down 15-4 after like 3 or 4 innings, and I had 3 pitchers left. I had to cover like 6 or 7 innings, and we were getting ran out of the building. Actually, I think it was 15-3. It was bad. It was embarrassing. No one wanted to throw a strike. Yeah, it was bad. Like we were getting pummeled. Like this is pretty humiliating. But the guys had no rest. They had no quit. And there was like so many little things that happened in that scrimmage. I went home we came back to tie at 15-15 in the ninth. And it's a game that doesn't count. Our second unit's in. They'd already been on the field for 9 hours. They could have just laid down, and they didn't. And I went home that night and I told my wife, this is like one of the proudest moments I've had in coaching. Like these guys had no reason to keep going, and they played like it was game 7 of the World Series, and they had so much effort. So for me, it's how the teams come together. It's watching people grow and overcome obstacles. Those are my favorite memories. And then you have individual memories of people and players that have really grown, and then you watch them succeed in life outside of baseball. Those are the things that you take away. Those are the things that really resonate,
Yeah. It's been awesome to be able to be a small part of that, of several of those teams. Like you said, watching the boys come together in Queens and St. John's, and watching some of those guys at Wake and do that. And even watching your group that hasn't been together that long do it. I mean, I was there when you guys scrimmaged Elon. It was pretty cool. The bats were hot and the boys were playing well. But to your point, the energy and the camaraderie and the selflessness that they had in the dugout was pretty cool to see. And especially for me, like not knowing what to expect from that team because I hadn't really been around them a whole lot. It was awesome to watch, and it's going to be really fun watching the boys kind of play and get moving forward to this season. One last question I have for you. What do you want people to know, whether it's your team, whether it's transfers that are hitting the portal, whether it's high school kids, like what do you want them to know about you as a coach, how you call pitches, how you run the game, how you just command everything else besides the stuff that we've talked about so far?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to do everything I can to get you the answers. By no means am I a guru. Like, by no means do I have every answer. But I'm going to exhaust everything in my being to do what I can for you. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's right. But the amount of effort and energy and passion I'm going to give every day, you're going to get everything I have. And I would say that's my superpower is like, I just give everything I got. Like, I go to bed at night and I hit the pillow and I'm out. Like, I just go, go, go. And then until I had nothing left every day. And so, and I expect that out of my other coaches around me. And I want to be in an environment that I love being in every day. That matters more to me than money. It matters more to me than to facilities and resources. Yes, we need those things to be successful. But what matters the most is like the environment you live in and how excited you get to be in that every day. You know, so that I think that's kind of how I've done everything. Is yeah, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to find it. We're going to get innovative. We're going to think outside the box. We're going to think differently. We're not going to be afraid to try new things. I'm going to give you what I got. So that's it. Like, and I think a lot of times, like, we're in this world where it's like so quick to be like, oh, it's not good enough. It's not working. Gotta go. Don't have time for this. I just don't give up on guys. You know, like, I don't have it in me to give up on people because I was that guy that wasn't very good. I was that, little fat kid that had no business being on the team. And I never forget that. And so for me, it's like I resonate with the underdog. I resonate with the guy that's a little weird. I resonate with the guy that's got a funky personality, I love confidence. I love guys that have a ton of confidence. So I think that's kind of who I am and what I'm about. It's funny. People think it's like all about like, oh, you worked in a pitching lab and you must know all like, yeah, I've learned some things, but like, that's such a low percentage of what it is. It's, I was a terrible pitch caller, terrible. And how did I rectify it? I started watching 30 hours of film a week until I figured it out. And I did it a lot. Now I'm pretty good at it, It was no secret. It was no like magic pixie dust thing. Just did it so much. And I kept telling myself, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. Now I'm good. I'm good. I'm the best. That's what like there's not like a recipe for it,
Yeah.
And I think that, when we live in this transactional society where everything's on our phone, it's on our fingertips, we expect to get that dopamine hit every time. It's not how it works.
Not real.
So that's again where I think I give my guys freedom is because I talk about that stuff every day. Everybody talks about Rhett Lauder and Hartle and all these guys that were great. They had 6.5 ERAs as freshmen. They had to fail. They had to learn. They had to grow. Blake Morningstar had a 7.5 ERA his freshman year. Plenty of guys struggle, and then they figure out how to find themselves. It's like that coming of age.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you can't give up on people.
No doubt.
And
that
they
didn't hide from it either. Like they would be with us in the lab. They would be with us at the seminar. They would be with us when we're working with guys. Like they were always around. Hartle's in here every day. Like talked to Rhett the other day. Like they just don't quit. They don't give up on their belief. Again, to your point, that they're going to be really good and they're going to continue to play this game for a long time.
Well, they have to be flooded with that energy and that belief. And everybody around them needs to share it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to harness that. It's the most powerful thing. That's what matters. Nothing else matters because you can learn anything.
Literally.
You can learn anything. You just have to have the desire and the will to learn anything. Life's not about who's the smartest guy in the room. Life's not about who's the best looking guy who throws the hardest. That's not what it's about. There's plenty of ugly dudes that have hot girlfriends and wives.
Facts.
There's plenty of mid-talent players that are great players. There's plenty of dudes that aren't that smart that are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. I'm not that smart. I'm a CEO of a college baseball team. I'm not that smart. I'm not that guy, pal. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. Like, it's about learning and growing and not being afraid to try new things. Put yourself out there and be aggressive towards your goal. I know this. I would rather fail, giving everything I got and going big, than sitting on the sidelines and being passive and missing my opportunity.
100% every time.
That's what people need to know. That's what it's about. You know, we get caught up in all the fancy, shiny things. But looks wear off. They wear off. And relationships are not built on appearances. They're built on trust. They're built on values. So they're built on energy. They're built on consistency. That's how you build trust. You know? So I have zero doubt in my mind that that's how it's going to play out, because it always has. And it's going to. And like I said to you, you put it into the universe, you believe it, you see it, you know it, and then you have gratitude that it already happened. You start to act as though it already happened. And then one day you look up, you're like, how did I get here? Like, why am I here right now? You know?
Yeah. One last question. What was it like when they offered you the job and you knew, because obviously the goal was to be a head coach. What was it like when that moment finally happened and they're like, hey, Corey, you're the next head coach at Duke University?
I wish I could tell you I had chills and I got excited, but I was looking at a roster and I was having a slight heart attack. I was trying to figure out who I could get on the team as fast as possible, and I was trying to figure out how to put the staff together as quick as possible. So because I honestly felt like I was FEMA going into hurricane relief. So I was like, I didn't even enjoy it. I don't even think I've enjoyed it. I don't even think I stopped yet to like actually sit and been like, wow.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like constantly trying to figure out how to like
keep it rolling,
wrangle it up and get it together. So sadly, I don't think I've really sat and pondered any of it. It took probably about to like 3 or 4 months in. I'm like, wait, I'm the head coach. Huh. Whoa.
Here we go.
Like, but I haven't like actually like sat and like appreciated it yet. It's probably need to get more present. You know, it's funny. Megan Kane, who you've gotten to meet, who was our director of ops at Maryland, she's become a really close family friend of mine and my wife. And she actually just got a job as professor at Temple. We're so proud of her. But she came to visit me like a month ago. She's like, "You're the head coach at Duke. Oh my God, you must be so excited." And I'm like, we gotta get players. We gotta get better. Like, she's like, "You're not showing gratitude. You're not gonna get any more." And I'm like, "You're right, Megan. You're right. You're not wrong." But that's the juxtaposition of this all the time. We get in this competitive state, in this competitive world, and you know, we got to take time to be present and appreciate things. I need to do a better job of that right now.
I think we all can.
You know, so I haven't really enjoyed it yet. I haven't really stepped back and be like, wow. I'm just trying to figure out how we can be the best version of this team.
Yeah.
So I know it's kind of anticlimactic to you, but
real.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Well, dude, I appreciate you coming down here to do this.
Yeah, man.
Everybody, Corey Muscara, episode 4 of the Brandon Gold Show. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.